welcome back, and we are Sassy Six. I'm Gigi Lau, and welcome to How's Your Relationship? So for today's episode, it's titled Where Learning and Teaching Begins Again. So I'm extremely honored to be joined by Mr. Justin Lau, who is a technical assistant from HKU Business School, and he supported the delivery of some Common Core courses offered by HKU's Business School. Aside from being a member of the teaching staff, he's also formerly an HKU student. Whoa! So thank you for taking your time to come here today. And when you hear of the title, What Learning and Teaching Begins Again, so what do you think about it? Anyone?
I think how we get support from our teachers, both mentally, for our emotional well-being as well as in studies. So they're not just there to teach us studying purposes, but they're there to enrich us as well.
Yep, so for learning and teaching is obviously related to about teaching and teachers obviously. And while for beginning again, we are referring to the transition from secondary school to university life, because all of us are actually in a new stage and having new beginnings. So now all of us here actually are in various stages of university life with our freshmen and our near graduating seniors. So for Justin, I would like to ask our first question. So in Common Core courses especially, how many students are actually genuinely interested in the subject, but just not for getting good grades in your class as well?
So how many students are genuinely interested? There's really no hard number because I think we couldn't really gather that data. But I would say because the course I supported was in its first year of delivery at HKU, so there really wasn't a reputation or maybe a precedent that people could really reference as to how the course was. So I think most of my students were going into the course really in the dark, and they had no expectations, nothing to really base their kind of predictions for their own grades on. So I would say they chose the course really based on what we advertised it as, and really based on their interest in the concept of leadership, which was what the course was about. Yeah.
So in your experience, would you think that, students' interest in the lesson or in the subject especially would be reflected in terms of their performance? So for example, maybe if you're conducting a lecture or a tutorial, you can really feel that students are really engaged in the subject matter, instead of those who are actually just being there just for the grades.
Well, I think definitely if you participate, that's a sign of interest. But what I've come to realize is that many times people who are interested don't participate because they feel pressure speaking up in the lecture theater or in tutorial, where they don't want to maybe say the wrong thing and might be judged by their peers. So they are interested, it's just that they don't engage enough. But I think it's true what you said about performing, engaging, participating being a sign of interest. So I would say on both sides there are people like that. So definitely some more extroverted people, some more introverted people. But generally I feel like when I look at the assignments, when I read what they write, what they submit, I feel like most people have definitely taken something away from the course and have shown interest and commitment. Yeah.
Yes. So let's also get a raise of hands from our students over here. So when selecting courses, let's say if there are two courses in the same exact time slot, however, one actually has really good reviews on the internet. So when deciding which course to pick, would you actually look at reviews from online forums and the assessment criteria first, then decide which course to pick?
For sure, I will.
Me too. That's what I do.
Yeah,
It's very important.
Yeah. So, how about courses which you're actually interested in? Would you be picking that if you're not really confident in that?
To be honest, I think GPA is important, and I will surely not risk that.
I think for me, as much as possible, I try to balance both. I know it's the most difficult thing ever, but because let's be honest, if sometimes you just only go there for the GPA, you might not last for the whole semester because you're not really interested in that subject. And that is very highly likely, especially if you're just looking at, I'm just looking at the things that, I'm just looking at getting an easy grade, but then totally disinterested, and actually more often when that happens, if you're so disengaged with the course materials in the course topic, you're more likely not to get a good grade because you don't even know what they're talking about, right? So I think for me, I try to find a balance of both. That, okay, at least even though it's not something I super really or like I'm very into, as long as I have like part interest on it, or like as long as I think I can make a contribution to the course topic, then I think it should be fine. And then I prioritize as well the GPA.
I completely agree with her, but I still ended up choosing the ones which had like good GPA because I'm like, in my core courses, it'll be hard anyways. If I still choose, the core courses which are hard on like GPA, I was like scared that it might affect. So I took like, even when like before choosing, I was thinking which CCs has like quizzes, which doesn't have quizzes, and yeah.
Being interested in the course is very important, but most importantly, I think we need to review our strengths and weaknesses. For instance, I'm an English studies student and I'm very weak in literature. That's why I choose all outcome courses.
Well, to be honest, I'm also guilty of this. So let's say if I see a course with someone getting a C or actually failing, it's automatically a cross on my list. And for common courses especially, because I remember entering university and receiving like a list of the course, which courses are good, which common core is, you should avoid it.
Yeah.
I think in university especially, a lot of us are actually focused on grades instead of building active relationships, especially with those who are actually conducting our courses and those who are making sure that we can learn from it. So some of our listeners may actually be wondering, now that you're in university, well, you could care less about your grades, it's all about your GPA, right?
You mean we could care less about our...
Yeah.
I guess, maybe.
Well, to be honest, I would say that university is actually a transformative stage of a student's life. I'm sure we all have experienced personal growth, exploration, and transition into adulthood as well. So in this environment, it's possible for the role of a teacher / a tutor actually to extend beyond simply academic instructions. So teachers especially, they're supposed to provide emotional support, mentorship, guidance, and they're actually really important for students navigating the complicated university life. Yet I cannot feel like sometimes we feel like the support from the university staff are not really sufficient compared to senior secondary school or primary school / you're really distant with your teachers.
Yeah.
I think like we have to also understand it's more like the ratio is very off for university. Like they're catering a lot of students, and often like for lectures there's like, I'm pretty sure as someone who's handling Common Core, I already know that enrollments during Common Core is pretty high as well. So because like everyone, it's a required course to take. So yeah, I think that makes the distance grow further, because often it's just impossible for one teacher to cater for all 300 students. More often, I think that's the limit, 300 plus. And like, I think the most you can have or form a relationship with in university is like your tutor, because often they handle the smaller classes, like 12 or often less than 20.
And I think in terms of distance, I do agree with Princess. But sometimes I think it's on us also, like whether we want to connect with our teachers and our lecturers. Because for me, I think up until now, I've had quite a good relationship with all my lecturers, because like I do like go up and ask them questions and stuff because I'm genuinely interested. So I think it's about like being proactive as well, and like wanting to create like a connection rather than just saying, oh, the class is too big, I can't.
Yeah, it's very important. And the important point is whether you want to establish a connection with the teacher and whether you really want to have support from the academic staff or other staff. For instance, I also contacted my academic advisor. He's a supporting staff, and then I asked for his comments about what masters or what PGD I should study later. And he really gave a lot of his experiences and a lot of comments about that.
Yes, so I think you all agree that we actually want the friendly, approachable teacher in university as well. Yeah, but I would like to ask, who actually had a really approachable teacher back in primary or secondary school?
Primary or secondary, right?
In your previous education, someone who you really trusted for matters which are not directly related to your academics.
Is high school like considered?
It's high school, secondary.
Yes, actually I did. Because she's actually like the IB coordinator and also my music teacher, but like, how do I put it? I felt like she was more of a mother. And you know what the joke was? She had the same surname as my mom and they're from the same Malaysian hometown. So like, I felt really connected with her because she can read me inside out like a book. It's crazy. Like literally, I don't even need to say anything and she knows how I'm feeling.
Yeah, so
It's quite incredible.
you feel really supported and connected with those teachers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Justin, from a teacher's perspective, how often do university students actually come to ask you for questions which are not directly related to your common core courses? Maybe for like mentorship or asking for advice generally?
I think in my experience when I was working on the course, barely ever. Because most students usually ask questions about the assignments, about how to get the tutorial participation score, usually about that. I don't think students were very curious about other aspects of my life or the other TA's life. But I also feel like that's on us because we didn't really tell them that much about ourselves. I think Larissa maybe would remember.
I mean, I feel like you guys didn't really introduce yourselves.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not just you guys that didn't do that. Nobody else did that.
Yeah, so I think really a norm here is that the tutors tend to keep things very professional to the extent where we rarely share. We're not really told to share. So the lecturer, my boss, didn't tell me, oh, you should really be buddy-buddy with your students, right? But looking back, I do feel like we could have been more open to sharing how we came to where we were in the course and what we do outside of the course, maybe the other projects we work on at the business school, also related to the course subject matter that might be interesting to the students or our life experiences, where we've worked outside of HKU. I think we could have done more, but that is probably why I feel like, to answer your question, not many students feel like they could ask us stuff unrelated to academics. So I think it's kind of on us as well.
So let's also hear from our seniors. We have heard from Gigi La about her academic advisor on Masters and PhD. How about Princess here?
For like, are we talking about in terms of university?
Yeah. Are there any like teachers in university where you feel that they're really approachable and you could ask for advice for like maybe after graduating or workplace recommendations?
I think what I really had last semester was good because I was taking my my capstone for psychology last semester, and I had a really good. Unfortunately, that professor already left. That was his last semester. Yeah. So I think what he did was what I find really helpful because he understands we're also at that point, at that stage that a lot of us are probably graduating after finishing that course. So he made sure to include like 1 or 2 weeks out of the lectures to have like a formal sit down where we can just ask him things about. It can be about anything, like just because he also had a very interesting background. Like he told us, like for us, a lot of us, I'm not sure if those listeners can relate to, but a lot of psychology majors know how psychology is in HKU, like especially because I think a lot of us are eyeing for doing masters because it's in psychology more often the norm is really to get a master's if you want to enter in a more professional or clinical settings. And so we kind of wanted, and we understand that the spots is very limited, especially here in HKU. The spots are like only less than 20, if I'm not mistaken. So
really
you can imagine how many people are graduating per cohort, and a lot of them are probably wanting to take. So he told us, a lot of the times what you study as well doesn't generally also apply to your future job sometimes. Because I think a lot of us were also worried about like, oh, I want to be this in the future, but then sometimes there might be some things that might not enable you to take that course, such as like there's limited spots. So yeah, because like for him, his case, he studied like computer science in bachelor's, he studied business for master's. So he was very diverse. And what did he end up with? Teaching social psychology in HKU. So you never really know where you really end up with. So I think that kind of things, you will never get it from someone else, especially like as someone who is as experienced as him, who had he was part of, like his job after graduation was like, he was part of the military as well.
Wow.
So you can see he has vast experiences, and I got a lot of different perspective from him just from like doing that one sit down. And I learned a lot about, I think it eased a lot of my worries, especially for someone who's almost entering as well the job market.
Yeah, I feel like on the surface, a lot of university students will be like seemingly focusing on their GPA, but beneath that, I feel like there's a desire to actually know their professors and want to understand more about different perspectives, and to also build connections and develop some understandings. They actually want to know that the teacher and the tutors actually care about them as individuals, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, not just maybe some numbers or grades on a sheet of paper. Yeah, so for Justin, how has your perspective of a teacher's role towards university students changed after your years as a HKU student?
I think definitely the role of the teacher, in the most traditional sense, it's to kind of impart the knowledge of the course of what the subject is about. But I think in many cases, it's more about helping the student find their way through university. So helping them navigate the challenges, overcome adversity, kind of find their standing where they are in the institution. Because I think I can be an expert in something, but that doesn't mean that I can make you an expert too. You have to really be inspired by me to really find and seek out that knowledge, seek out that expertise, and really acquire that on your own. And I can't really do that without building, like me proactively building a relationship with you, right?
Yeah.
So some students are very keen to do that. They look me up online, they find my LinkedIn and they talk to me about it. Some people never raise their hand in a tutorial and they duck out immediately after it's over. And I think as the teacher, regardless of how the student interacts with you, like whether they look you up on LinkedIn or they don't want to talk to you, you still have to make an effort to really engage them and be there for them and kind of let them know that, hey, I care about you more than just what the course tells me to tell you, like in terms of what it's teaching. So that would hopefully give them an idea of what relationships should be like, even beyond an institution. And when they become someone senior, someone with expertise, they can also kind of reproduce that relationship, replicate that kind of genuine affinity that I hope my students experience. Yeah.
So I think we can all agree we hope to express our concerns and actually seek advice from our tutors or our lecturers, and we hope that we can have them friendly teacher as a safety net, because when our students actually feel connected to the instructors, I feel like we are all more likely to engage in the learning process as well. And well, this could possibly like increase our learning motivation and maybe lead to academic success. Well, I feel like in Justin's case especially, for students who are actually feeling supported by the educators, they're more likely to take risks in their learning and participate actively in class and maybe seek help whenever needed. Yeah, so maybe the support of the teaching staff means a lot to students who are really stressed out or who are just simply navigating through their university life. So for Justin, as a current member of the teaching staff, a lot of students will be eager to know how can the teaching staff actually help them. So how can the university teachers / teaching staff actually further help support students from maybe beyond pure academic studies towards their maybe their career or their lives, and maybe develop a closer relationship?
I think this goes back to the first point I shared with everyone about staff being more open to sharing about themselves and really inviting conversation outside of what the course is about to students, because you never know what students are interested in. Maybe, for example, my course was about leadership. Maybe some students are also in leadership roles and they want to practice that and connect what the course is about to their own lives, and that goes beyond what they study, the assignments they hand in. They want to know more about you. So I would say from the staff perspective, we should really be more outreach oriented and not really passively waiting for students to maybe come up to you after the lecture, after the tutorial to talk to you. But I would say in general, it depends a lot on your demeanor. So how you conduct yourself in the tutorial or maybe in the lecture or maybe on campus when you see students, do you say hi to them? Do you smile at them? You know, some of my colleagues don't do that. So I do feel like if most staff have this kind of awareness that they are primed to be ready and open and active in connecting with students, I do feel like this would really help the students benefit or feel more comfortable talking to them in the long term. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like outreach is really important, especially when building an active relationship. So let's also hear from our year 1 and year 2 students over here. So aside from outreach, what do you think that would be beneficial in terms of building a relationship and also supporting your development as a person beyond your academic results?
I think it would be nice, like what Princess was saying, like your professor actually had a time where everybody could just ask him literally anything. I think if majority of the professors or teaching assistants actually arrange for like a session like that, oh, you can ask me anything to do with leadership or your pathways in the future or your masters, I think people would actually want to participate in that. Like you said, you learned a lot, right? So I think having that sort of that platform for us to ask about anything other than the course itself is also really helpful. And like what Justin mentioned previously, it's about how the teachers and professors present themselves. So I've been very lucky so far. I think all of them are pretty friendly. Honestly, if I were to get a professor that never smiles and just talks like nothing but the syllabus, I think I would not go up to him because I would genuinely be like frightened. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I completely agree with them. Like outreach is very important, and also, it's not just about academics, right? In university, there's actually so much you can learn from, and especially from tutors and professors that they've done so much before, coming in like teaching us. So there's so much we can learn from what they have done, and making that effort or trying to teach us more than academics is like really, I feel like will be really important for us. Like if I see like my tutor, like professor, who doesn't like smile at me, like smile at us, like in general, I would be very intimidated to like go out and ask him questions. I think like demeanor and that is also really important, for them to like be friendly with us so that we can like go up to them.
Yeah, I feel like for a lot of the senior staff, not a stereotype, just possibly, maybe like all the senior staff, they're slightly less approachable if you compare it to like our young teaching staff over here. Yeah, I feel like our outreach and actually support from teachers are really important as our development as a person. So aside from outreach and also possibly maybe more support from our professors, maybe having more inclusive learning environment and regular check-in from the teachers are also really helpful in terms of our studies. So yeah, I remember we had like academic advisors email to us. Like we have like a name, which they email us at the beginning of the semester. Yeah, and then they'll be like, oh, you can talk to us whenever you want. And I think that would also be really helpful as well. Yeah.
Because like I think what happened with mine was that I feel like academic advisors often are not, I would say they are very distant with what you're actually learning. So like what they do, you only check in with them once per semester or once every year. And so sometimes it's like kind of hard for you to say anything like really remotely detailed about what you're going through, because it's I rarely meet them. I more often meet for like courses that I actually take on during the semester. Like I meet those professor much more than my actual academic. So to be honest, I'm not blaming my academic advisor. It's just that I think for me it was kind of like, I feel like, yeah, we only do a check-in once, and I feel like at some point it's also, there's still some distance for me to be able to ask questions. And I think like, again, they're also handling a lot of students, I'm pretty sure. And so like at some point, I don't know if she is aware. Because like, I remember when I did my academic consult, it ended in like 15 minutes or less than that. Because she literally just asked me, do you have any questions? And I'm like, I don't know what to answer, because I don't know if she even knows what I do. Like, she did ask me like the basic questions, but I think, you know, like, yeah, I think it's just hard to keep up, especially if there's like, it's not someone that is like very involved towards your academic matters. Yeah, so like for me, I think people I often ask are like the people in the faculty. Those are the people I think who I often message when it comes to inquiries about my studies instead of my academic. But again, caution, I'm not blaming my academic. It's my fault. I didn't reach out that much. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess for both the teaching staff and students, we should all take the initiative to actually seek help and ask for questions as well to build a more active relationship. So this is Gigi with Sassy 6 over here on Where Learning and Teaching Begins Again. So we hope our university students listening or watching actually can all find the teacher that they feel safe to approach in university, and hopefully meet some friendly staff like Justin over here in the upcoming years of university. And hopefully everyone can have a fruitful, lifelong learning experience in university. So see you guys next episode.
See you.
Bye.